winter, a cold phase in the annual cycle of the season in its full swing in the northern hemisphere, including in India. But it seems that in some domain where cold phase is not witnessed. What I'm interested in talking today is the defense domain, the sector where the new developments and some issues arising in the field of security is something not anymore called, but these are the burning issues. In this session, what we are going to have today is the very recent, the brand new INS Mormugao that commissioned in Indian Navy, along with the Patriot missile defense system and Iskander missile system of the Russia. So let us start with the INS Mormugao, that is pennant name D67. This ship is something very special to Indian Navy, and that is named as the INS Visakhapatnam class, and this is specially commissioned to the Indian Navy on the day of Goa Liberation Day, that is 18th of December, and Goa Liberation Day, if we talk about, that is 17th to 19th December, under Operation Vijay in 1961, a operation against the Portuguese ruling in the Daman and Diu and Goa territory, and that liberated the Goa, and that become a part of our India. So that very day special, this INS Mormugao name itself is after the city, that is one of the port city, and this particular INS Mormugao is named after. What is important here is a part of Project 15B. I would like to go little, we try to navigate little deeper that what is Project 15B. This has been in the news, and if there is Project 15B, so there should be a 15A and also 15. So obviously these all are existed here. 15, Project 15 is regarding that development of guided missile destroyers in Indian Navy. So that particular, this Project 15 was envisaged in 1990s, where destroyers, these destroyers are to be developed for Indian Navy. Thereafter, somewhere in 2005 to 8, where Project 15A was also envisioned. Under this Project 15, we must be aware about the INS Delhi. So INS Delhi class destroyers were developed. Thereafter, Project 15A, where INS Kolkata class were developed. So these are somewhere more modern, sophisticated compared to the Project 15 destroyers, and later on Project 15B that conceptualized in the year 2014. This was founded, the idea was envisaged in the year 2014, and there is a plan to develop at least 4 destroyers from 2015 to 30. So thereafter, first of it, this project was the INS Visakhapatnam. Therefore, the name entire this class destroyers also named as the INS Visakhapatnam class. Thereafter, the proposed are Impal and Surat. So these are the named after the Indian cities, and this is what about the Project 15B. So it is need to be remembered. And what are the special about this is the Mazgaon Dock Ship Building Limited, that is situated in the Bombay, that is Indian Navy's in-house construction ship construction facility, and the range is about 7,400 kilometers. I would like to highlight here that why it is so important and why I mentioned here, because India's, if we look the India's coastal line, so this is about nearly about 715 kilometers. So from here to entire these coastal lines to be saved and secured, securing coastal line is important. This is very important because various factors are somehow trying to destabilize the safety and security and peace and order of this area, including the some Chinese vessels presence as well as the piracy across the Indian Ocean. So this, if the range of this destroyer is 7,400 kilometers, then we can safely state that this can also save the entire Indian coastlines, coastal areas in the one go. So this is very important. Now, what are the some cutting edge capabilities and technologies those are under this installed in this ship? The first is the Bell Bharat Electronic that limited Nagin active towed array, that is something a sonar system. Sonar, we know that sonar is a sound based navigation and ranging. This is something a sound based navigation and ranging. So this is something very important. We might have been heard about the dolphin. Dolphin also use that sonar system that is inherently, that is inbuilt naturally. So sound wave sonar system is something, it sends the signals of the sound, and if suppose any object is here placed, then it will reflect back and reach to these sensors. So this is sensor sum transponder or receiver, which through this simple physics principle, that reflection and that traveling of sound waves and the reflecting back of the waves will enables the sensors, and that can somehow measure and determine the distance as well as the shape and size of that particular object that's situated inside the water. So this is something a sonar technology. And here important is the towed array. Towed means something roped and that is pulled by the any object. So simply looking at this diagram, we can understand better way that in suppose this is something a towed. Towed means something roped. That particular sonar is away from the ship, that may be the 500 to 1 kilometer or more, and this is something it can detect in the all directions. Suppose this is something a submarine which is hostile, that is hostile, or that may be somewhere can pose a threat to this particular destroyer. Let's say it's an INS Mormon, but then it can easily detect and send the computer screens that is installed in this particular destroyer, and it can, the Navy personnel can easily assess the situation, location, everything about this particular submarine or any foreign object. Here, why the need of towing, or why that is not situated or installed inside the destroyer? That is reason is because the ship or destroyer has its own sound or noise, so it can distract the sensors to assess or measures the any objects that is having threat or somewhere else that is located. So that's why the simple the idea about this towing of this particular array system or this particular sonar is that it can independently and in the more better way it can assess the surrounding areas, objects those are situated, and it can keep vigil the navy personals. So this is something towed array sonar system. And what are the important things next is a DRDO based that is developed Shakti, that is the electronic warfare suit with radar fingerprinting system. So this is again something a radar fingerprinting system. So it can assess in the air. The sonar technology that is Bell Nagin is something which assess the entire the water based foreign objects or situated in the water around the destroyer, but this particular DRDO Shakti will having the radar that is in the air, it's air, and it can assess all the directional nodes. So it's a 360-degree radar which can give the entire idea of that is something radar fingerprinting. So it can assess any objects found within the range of this particular radar that is DRDO Shakti, and it can inform that destroyer personals of Indian Navy. So this is the idea behind this. Then Marie's torpedo countermeasure system. So this is very special. Now we have many of us might have knew about the Ramayana, where Marich, one of the demon that having the pseudo form, that is to abduct the goddess Sita, the Marich transformed himself into the golden deer so that it can lure or attract the Lord Rama and the Lakshmana. So that way Ravan can enter into the hut of that where they used to reside, Lord Rama, Lakshmana and Sita. So in that idea of Marich to pseudo, or it's kind of decoying system, that the technical term is a decoy, that is torpedo countermeasure system. Torpedo is the underwater missile, and countermeasure system is that it can present itself in the pseudo form or in the decoy form, and it can divert the attention of the enemy powers or enemy naval ships or torpedoes, so that it can easily not only divert their attention and somehow in the pseudo form, but at the same time it can also attack. So this is something two things at the same platform, that is a Marich torpedo countermeasure system. So it's a very special. At the same time, this particular destroyer INS Mormugao is something capable of installing this Barak surface to air missile that is developed by the jointly by the India and Israel. So it's a very important missile system that can not only penetrate the enemy powers, but as well as they can it's also powered with the navigation system and scanning. So this is something, it has more than just a missile. So it's a very special and one of the most advanced and sophisticated system, missile system in the world. So Barak. At the same time, BrahMos, that is very much well known across India and the world. This is something, a supersonic anti-ship supersonic missile. This is developed by the Russia and India jointly. That is something named after the Brahmaputra river of India and the Moscow rivers of the Russia. So the name that is nomenclatured or christened as the BrahMos. And this is something a very capable missile system. It can be launched from any of the platform available to the defense forces, that is whether ship, the Sukhoi Su-30 MKI, that is for the Air Force, and even for the defense army personnel, so from the ground platform. So this is very capable. Even at the same time, BrahMos is capable of carrying a nuclear payloads. warheads. So that is something very special, and it's become invincible somewhere in the nature. The bottom line about this is that after commissioning INS Mormugao, what is important is that it is shot in arm for the Indian self-reliance efforts. That is because more than 75% of the equipments, as we talk about the Nagin, Bel Nagin, as well as this Sakti or Marich, these all are developed by the Indian agencies indigenously. So this is very important that our drive, our countries strive to attain the 100% that is indigenization is very one of the flagship or something motive or motto of the current government. So in that perspective, we can say that India's self-reliance efforts are in the right direction. That is certainly it acts as a sorted arm for our defense sector. At the same time, it is vital for the 15 years in Indian navies. This is something Indian Navy, that is indigenization program. So no, to complementing this INIP, that is for the year 15 to 30. So it will complement this particular scheme or that particular project of the government of India. So in overall, we can say that India's strive to self reliance for its defense domain and its forces is in the right direction. So next, very much in the news, that is again in the not in the news but is a burning news, that Patriot missile defense system. So as we can see in the screen that this is came into the news when United States, Washington declared or announced that it will provide its very unique and sophisticated Patriot defense system, especially from the missile or any air strikes, and it is something to be given to the Kyiv, and it forms the part of US $1.8 billion that is aid package to the Ukraine. As we seen that and very much aware about that, the 24th of February this year 2022, when Russian invasion or Ukraine's conflict with Russia, that became one of the turning point for the entire geopolitical scenario. So that is something, and it is something we can say the ripple effect of that particular something happened in the 24th of February. And the first fact about this particular Patriot missile system is that it is something a phased array tracking. The full form is radar to intercept on target. So this is something operable from the mobile and non-mobile platform. At the same time, this is surface to air missile system. So this is not just a missile, but it is something a defense umbrella, or how it works. We will try to look at it after. This is the radar system, this particular defense platform, and it can sense, suppose these are the radio signals, and it is the zone where it can detect any object. Suppose these are the enemy aircrafts, and this is the range gate. So whenever this, under this radar, any of the foreign, that is jet or aerial vehicle or any missile come in or that enters into in this range gate, automatically this Patriot missile system will activate it and it will hit that particular object. So this is something a very sophisticated mechanism, and it is developed by the Raytheon Technology Corporation of the USA in the 1980s. And this is something a missile defense umbrella. No, this is very much no, it can defend the ballistic as well as cruise missiles, high drones and jets. But at the same time, there is one of the drawback is that it cannot detect the low flying objects, something drones of the today's era. So this is something a issue with this, but at the same time this is a radar how it looks like, and the range is about 150 kilometers, so it can save a very considerable distance. The primary users of this system is not only the USA and the Ukraine this time, but the USA, apart from it, Israel, Japan, Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, and the NATO members, about 18 NATO members including Poland, Germany, these are all are the users of this. The earlier involvements, this Patriot missile has been in the having in the service history, that is in the 1980s when Russian aggression to the NATO allies were when observed, then Patriot missile system also inducted or that is installed for the in the some areas of the Europe. And the same time, the Gulf War of the 1990-91, when Iraq attacked invasion to the in Kuwait, then in that time this system also used. And later on in the US invasion to the Iraq to neutralize or somehow bring into the nail to the that Saddam Hussein, infamous president of that then Iraq. So then even this Patriot system contributed to the US forces. So bottom line is that war is something grinds on between two, that is US and Ukraine, not US, sorry, Russia and Ukraine. But at the same time, the US role in this two geopolitical rivalries is something steadily increasing or expanding. What we can observe from seeing this Ukraine help to the by the USA, even at the risk of escalation. So there will be the escalation that is without a duality if somewhere that is the armament and these supplies are happening, or obviously this taking places. So there is something issue obviously in this response. We can see in the next something a topic what I am going to deal with is the Iskander missile system. So this is the Russian made Iskander missile system, and it's so heavy that it is seen as the Russian answer to the Patriot missile system. So obviously this is short-range hypersonic ballistic missile. So the term hypersonic ballistic missile and the 400 to 500 kilometers. So hypersonic means it's about having the speed of more than 5 Mach. So the 1 Mach is speed of the sound, or obviously 5 times the speed of the sound. So it is meaning the hypersonic. So it is about 5.9 Mach speed. The what speed it can attain this particular Iskander missile system. And the ballistic missile, the ballistic is something a trajectory. To better understanding, we can see it, can understand by this particular picture. Let's suppose this is the missile system. This missile system will go up to some path only. It will lead up to some path. Thereafter, it will be autonomous. That means it will be automatically target the different sites or point of interest without any guidance. So without any guidance, it will be guided up to some point of this distance, that is, and this is what we in the physics known as a projectile motion. So this is something, the best distance to be achieved about 45 to 60 So these are the some technical aspects. No need to go, no need to delve into that. But this is something ballistic, is something a projectile motion, and it is not targeted or guided, but it will, after reaching attaining some height, it will burst itself, and different warheads will be fallen down, and some kind of fallout will happen, and it may destruct entire region, where it's not only one or two sites or two targets, but entire region will be disrupted. So this is something a very we can say the fatal. The developer is something that is Russian origin, obviously. Botkinsk Plant State Production Association and the KBM in 1988. And unique capabilities about this particular Iskander missile system is the fuel air explosive. So what is this fuel air explosive? So when missile is launched, then it will consume or add on the more O2s. The more O2s, the explosiveness of this particular missile will be the more. Then it will somehow burn itself the more curiously. So this is something a fuel air explosive. So more addition of the oxygen in the path of its launch or its paths of its traveling journey. So at the same time, it having a earth penetrator. So bunkers are one of the part of the frontline armies. Those are attacking the enemy forces. So it can also burst the bunkers. So it can destroy the bunkers. So it have a very huge capability. So it can even penetrate some meters of the earth when it fallen. At the same time, transient electromagnetic disturbance or radar. So this is something very unique feature. It having a radar system. So it having a anti-radar system. By something, it can generate a more amount of energy which can distract the radar system to assess the exact location, amount, size and shape of the missile. So this is something in between the path. It can have a sudden huge amount of energy that is produced by this particular system, Iskander missile system, and it can disturb the radar system to assess exactly the location or various dimension of this particular missile. So automatically the radar will be failed or partially failed to detect the Iskander system. So it will something give a extra edge to the Iskander missile system operator. And the next is it's a nuclear capable. Obviously it will can also operate and carry the warheads that those are made up of the nuclear. And the another highlights of the Iskander system is the operator. The Russian, Belarus, Armenia and the Algeria. These are the four users. In the service history, recently Nagorno-Karabakh War 2020, that is border conflict between the Armenia and Azerbaijan, where we can witness the use of Iskander by the Armenian forces, because Armenia is one of the ally of the Russia. At the same time, Russian-Georgia War of the 2008, that there also, and the Syrian civil war in the Syria, where various civil wars and various armed forces of various nations are also involved, including Russia, Turkey. So we can see the use of this particular system. Now the important thing here is quenching quest through the question. So without solving or attempting the questions, we cannot gauge our preparation level. So here the questions what UPSC had asked in the previous years. The first question I have taken from the year 2018, that is from the defense part. So what is the terminal high altitude area? Third, sometimes seen in the news. So it's I'd like to you please pause this moment and try to solve this question first before I giving you the right answer. So third is something an Israeli radar system, India's indigenous anti-missile program, an American anti-missile system, D, a defense collaboration between Japan and South Korea. So answer is C, an American anti-missile system. So it has been in the news very much. The next question, which one of the following statement best reflects the idea behind the fractional orbital bombardment system often talked about in media? So it's the most recent question, that is in the year 2022 UPSC asked in the prelims examination. First, the hypersonic missile is launched into space to counter the asteroid approaching the Earth and explode it in space. B, a spacecraft lands on another planet after making several orbital motions. C, a missile is put into a stable orbit around the Earth and deorbits over a target on the Earth. And D, a spacecraft moving along a comet with the same surface speed and places a probe on it. So answer of this particular question is going to be a C. This is in the news and it's a very sophisticated and cutting edge technology, I'd say, of the China, where in scientists of the Chinese developed the system. Just assume it's Earth. Suppose it launched and it remains to be in the space and it's continue to orbit the Earth. Suppose this is the orbital path and it remains there. No, it's continue to remain there. In space, control from the ground stations, obviously the Chinese stations, and it will follow the command whenever it send. That is, this is something, a missile system or a bombardment system which will remain in the air or space and continue to orbit the Earth, different places. So it's what is unique about it, it is a limitless. So there is no limitation of the range, whether that is 5,000, 2,000, 100. No, that is not there with this, and it is beyond the limit and the same time is a beyond the locations. So it can attack or bombard any place in across the Earth to whenever it sends a command or to do so. So this is something a very fatal and very modern, which is beyond obviously no parallel any system yet developed by any of the nation apart from Chinese. So it's had been the news and UPSC asked this question. So these are the level of questions UPSC are asking, and that needs to be remembered, or that needs to be followed. Before concluding, I'd like to quote our father of nation, that I unquote, an eye for an eye will only make the whole world blind. So obviously he had been the proponent of non-violence and peace, harmony, unifications, and for that matter he always emphasized for the path of non-violence and peace, because this is the world that actually we the people, those are called as humans, so that we are with humanity. So if we get rid of, or if we go beyond this humanity, or if we leave this humanity, then we will be no more the human. So this is the message our father of nation that preached to the entire world, and that needs to be followed. So with this, I thank you all for this being with me. Thank you.